أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن لا إله
أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول حي على حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. He said عليه الصلاة والسلام, seeking ilm, seeking knowledge is an obligation on every Muslim. And that is an obligation that we often overlook. We may know of some obligations, but that actually seeking knowledge is an obligation, and not that only it's an obligation, but on every single Muslim. Prompts us to ask ourselves, where am I when it comes to this obligation? That if I, as an individual, every and each one of you, has to seek knowledge according to the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is that a concern? Is that something that we are fulfilling? Do we feel the need to do that? Once, so that we understand why. Once the Prophet ﷺ was sitting in the masjid, somebody came in and they started praying. And the Prophet ﷺ was watching him, while the man, not knowing that the Prophet was watching him. So when the man finished, and he came in to say salam to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet told him, "Irji' fasalli fa innaka lam tusalli." Go back and pray, for you did not pray. So the man went back and he redid his salah. And then came back to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet said again, "Irji' fasalli fa innaka lam tusalli." Go back and pray, you did not pray. And then he went and he did it a third time, and he came to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet again said, "Go back and pray, you did not pray." And then the man confessed, "O Prophet of Allah, I don't know what to do more than this." And the Prophet ﷺ started to teach him. Pray this way, and that way. That is, you can live a life where you think you know how to pray, but you don't. And if the Prophet ﷺ were to see you, he would tell you that was not a salah. And if you do not learn what it means to perform wudu and to pray, you may spend your life not performing that. In another incident, the Prophet ﷺ was told of what people did when they were away. They were traveling. And one of them injured his head and had an open wound. And then when he slept, he had a wet dream. So when he woke up, he asked the people around him, he said, "أَتَجِدُونَ لِي رُخْصَةً فِي التَّيَمُّمِ?" Am I exempt? Can I do tayammum instead of bathing? Because that's what you do when you have a wet dream. You're supposed to bathe fully. But with his injury, can I do tayammum? So they told him, "No, we find no exemption for you to do tayammum. You need to bathe." He did. He died. When they came to the Prophet ﷺ and told him about that, he says, "قَتَلُوهُ قَتَلَهُمُ اللَّهُ." He said, "They killed him, may Allah kill them." It is enough for the ignorant to heal their ignorance to ask. It was enough for him to do tayammum. That is, if you do not know, what you do not know can kill someone. And if not physically, it can kill your own iman or the iman of people around you. We have to know before we do anything. فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Allah Azza wa Jalla tells His Prophet ﷺ, "Know La ilaha illallah, then seek forgiveness for yourself and the believers." So the ulama have said, you must know before you do, because if you do before you know, you could corrupt more. You must know. And this path of knowledge is a path of virtue, because beginning with Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah told him, وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Say, "Oh my Rabb, increase me in knowledge." He's speaking to whom? To the one who knew Allah Azza wa Jal the best, Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. And yet he told him, keep asking Allah to increase you in knowledge. And they say that Allah did not command His Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam to ask him for more except knowledge. Not more money and not more power, but increase me in knowledge. And part of the dua of the Prophet ﷺ every single morning, which is part of the adhkar that all of us are supposed to, it's recommended that we repeat. When you wake up, what do you say? Meaning between Fajr and sunrise. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiba wa amalan mutaqabbala. Ya Allah, I'm asking you for a beneficial knowledge and a halal provision, rizq, and an accepted deed. That is, as you are setting your day, mentally, physically, you're asking Allah Azza wa Jal, give me in this day the following 3. And what is the first thing that you ask Allah for? Beneficial knowledge. Give me beneficial knowledge. And then after that comes what? Halal. That can support me and my family. And then an accepted deed. Things that please you, Ya Allah. So yes, we plan our day and we know exactly where we're going to go to work or where we'll go to study. We have planned each step. I'm going to study this so I could graduate, so I can get more money, so I could be employed, so I would do all of this in the dunya. We've planned it very well. And we plan our meals very well. I'm going to eat this for breakfast and this for lunch and dinner and snacks in between. You know more or less what you're going to be eating. We don't have no idea about knowledge or seeking it or a desire to seek it. And you're living in a time where it is essential to learn because of the many temptations that surround you and many doubts that surround you and the responsibilities that make it difficult to survive without ilm. It could be possible for a person at the time of the Prophet ﷺ who is a nomad to come to the Prophet, learn a few things, go back and he could survive. But living in today's world, in a city like this, in a world like this, and you don't know your Islam, and you don't know your Iman, and you don't know what is halal and what is haram, and you're living with ignorance, how do you suppose you will survive when you meet Allah Azza wa Jal? Because Allah will ask you, how did you spend your life, and how did you spend your youth, and how did you spend your money? And the type of knowledge that we're talking about is not rote memorization. Not just go ahead and memorize the Quran and that's it. You're A. That's not it. وَإِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ خَشْيَةُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. You want to learn something that will increase you in love and fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. It says only those who have ilm have khashya of Allah Azza wa Jal. Commenting on that, they've said that indeed what you consider to be knowledge and beneficial knowledge is what brings you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. If you memorize an ayah, but it doesn't bring you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, you have to reconsider what you were doing. If you read a hadith, but they don't increase you in khashya, what are you learning? But you want to learn the thing that moves your heart and moves your eyes to tears, and brings you closer to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and away from the dunya and obsession with it. من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة. He says the one, he said alayhi salatu wassalam, if you seek a path of knowledge, by that Allah will ease you into paradise. Whatever you do, whether it's a physical seeking, or virtual, or you sit in a halaqah, or you listen to something beneficial, the time that you spend for Allah Azza wa Jal will give you ease into Jannah because you are learning through it of what Allah loves, how to protect your own Iman and how you protect your own Islam, how to get into Jannah and be saved from Jahannam. If somebody tells you you're going to be interrogated, you're going to be questioned, you're going to be interviewed. And in that interview they will ask you these specific questions. And if you pass, therefore you pass. But if you fail, woe to you if you fail. Whether it's for a job or for admission, but something worldly and something instrumental in your life. Study for it if you wish or not. If it's instrumental and pivotal, we'll study. طيب. In our grave, we will be asked, Man Rabbuka ma dinuk? And you'll be asked, who is Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam? What did you used to believe about him? If you don't know these things, how will you answer that question? And don't say, I know it now. But I mean really know it. To really believe it, to really live it. Because anyone who can ask you right now, who's Allah, you tell him. But when you panic, when you're distressed, who is Allah? Is the dollar or Allah? Who comes first? Because that's the question you ask yourself. Because right there, 6 feet under, you're not going to answer based on what you've memorized. You're going to answer based on what you lived. And you cannot live it if you don't know what it is. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to ask us, who is your Rabb? And you will be alone. There's no one to feed you the answer. There's no one to give you company. You'll be alone. Who is your Rabb? If you don't learn it right now, Allah Azza wa Jalla is this. Allah Azza wa Jalla is the merciful. What does that mean? Allah Azza wa Jalla is Al-Wadud. What does that mean? He's Al-Ghafur. What does that mean? And how do I relate to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala through all of this? If you want to know if you are seeking knowledge or not, consider the distance between you and the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Because knowledge, true knowledge, is ayah from the Quran and a hadith from Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. That is the essence of all knowledge. Where are you from the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla? Where are you from the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? And if the request for that ilm is daily, where are you when it comes to daily intake of knowledge? Just like you feed your body, do you feed your soul and do you feed your mind? Once the Prophet ﷺ, he was sitting in the masjid, he goes to the people on the suffah, and the people of the suffah would be sitting like the people all the way in the back, but they would be covered to them. And these were the poor of the muhajirin, poor immigrants. Meaning there's no other shelter that they have except the back of the masjid. That's it. And he said to them, أَيُّكُمْ يَحُبُّ أَنْ يَغْدُوا إِلَى بُطْحَانَ أَوْ إِلَى الْعَقِيقِ. He says, who among you would like to go to Buthan or Al-Aqiq, 2 valleys in Medina, and get from them 2 camels with big humps, halal, min غير إثم ولا قطيعة رحم, halal without any burden attached to them. Meaning easily you go, you grab 2 healthy, big camels, and you come back with them. And you do that every single day. Which one among you would you like to do this? And remember, they are poor. You say, O Prophet of Allah, all of us would love that. He says, if any one of you goes to the masjid and he learns 2 ayahs from the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, that would be better for him than those 2 camels. And if he learns 3 ayahs, it's better than 3 camels, and 4 ayahs better than 4 camels, and whatever number of ayahs you learn are better than their number of camels acquired. If one asks you if you could go to such and such place and you can grab $2,000 easily and you can come back home and you can do that every single day, would you love that? You'd say, definitely I would love this. But Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is telling you what is going to benefit you in the dunya and in the akhirah is something much simpler than that, which is if you just learn the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's better than 1,000 and 2,000 and 5,000. It's available to every single person, because not all of us can be rich in the dunya, but all of us can be rich in the akhirah. All of us can learn right now what is halal and what is haram. If you're going to get married, you must know your rights and responsibilities before you get married. You must learn them, and it's an obligation on you to do that before you get married. A lot of the conflicts that you see that end up in divorce is because people don't understand what it means to marry somebody else. What I owe them and what they owe me. But they get into this marriage blindly. And they leave it blindly. When you decide to have a child, you know that it's an obligation on you to know how to raise that child, what his rights are. What he should avoid, what is the right and what is wrong, what is poisonous outside, so that you protect him from all of that. It's an obligation on you as his caretaker to do all of this. But we have children and don't know how to take care of them, and we don't study and we don't read and we don't ask and we don't inquire. Yet it's an obligation on you to learn all of that. When you open a business, it's an obligation on you. Once you open that business, to know halal and haram transactions in detail, so that you know what to avoid and what to do. And you sin when you don't learn any of that. Whatever field in life, whatever you are doing, it's an obligation on you to learn it, because if you don't, you're going to commit a haram that Allah hates. And the path of knowledge is available, but few who seek it. Do it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Do it for the sake of Muhammad alayhi salatu was salam. He said alayhi salatu was salam what? He said the prophets and the messengers did not leave gold and silver behind, but they left knowledge. That is their inheritance. فَمَنْ أَخَذَهُ أَخَذَ بِحَظٍ وَافِرٍ. If you acquire it, you acquire a lot of good fortune. Imagine Muhammad alayhi salatu was salam. What does he leave behind? The best of the best. And the best of the best is inheritance. Is he said this and he said that. He acted this way and he didn't act that way. In the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, he said, gold and silver, they don't last, but this thing lasts. And he said, alayhi salatu wassalam, مَن يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهْهُ فِي الدِّينِ. He said, Allah wants the best for someone. He gives him understanding in faith, fiqh in this religion. And the opposite is true. If Allah does not want the best for someone, He does not give him understanding in the faith. So if you want Allah Azza wa Jal to love you and for you to love Him, for you to be able to withstand the many temptations around you, doubts circulating about Islam, the existence of Allah, the authenticity of the Quran, things that you're supposed to know, but also you're supposed to teach your children, all of these doubts circulating within reach. Add to them also the worldly, physical temptations. This haram is easy to get, that haram is easy to get. How will you have the iman, the fortitude to say no to all of this? And you fail every day to feed your iman and to feed your knowledge. And don't say, please, I've memorized the Quran, and that is it. Because the question that I'll ask you is, do you know what Allah is saying? After now we've memorized, do you know what the meaning of this ayah is and that ayah is? If not, then you still have a long way to go. And don't say, I graduated from an Islamic university. They say that if you do not learn every single day, even if you graduated and specialized in an Islamic institute, if you do not learn every single day, عُدْتَ عَمِّيَّة, you will come to become an average person after 3 years. You're going to forget all of that. If you do not learn it, you're going to lose it. And if you don't apply it, you also are going to lose it. So when I'm discussing or talking about this, I'm not excluding any single person who listens to this. Allah Azza wa Jal wants every one of us to seek knowledge and to know right from wrong. So we have to accept that responsibility and think about ways that can increase us in knowledge. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us among those people and not among the ignorant. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وأصلي وأسلم على رسوله محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Imagine after your death and you need every single person to pray for you. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, among the things that never expire, علم ينتفع به, a knowledge that people find beneficial after your passing. And you can become a partner in that when you teach the truth. When you spread this knowledge. When you teach it to your kids, you can become a part in that. But also he said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, وَإِنَّ الْعَالِمَ لَيَسْتَغْفِرُهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ حَتَّى الْحِيتَانُ فِي جَوْفِ الْمَاءِ. He says the scholar, the person who acquires that knowledge, he says everybody in the heavens and everybody on earth, even the fish in the sea, make istighfar for that person. Imagine the honor. Imagine the honor if you actually are seeking knowledge and coming to Jum'ah with that intention qualifies. Coming to Jum'ah with the intention of, well, I'm not just going to fulfill an obligation and then just scurry back to whatever I was going to do. No, I'm actually coming here to learn something that helps, that can stay. So when you're coming, you can imagine the angels of Allah Azza wa Jal, as the hadith states, lowering their wings for you out of gratitude and happiness with what you are doing, if you are really seeking knowledge. To have an angel of Allah Azza wa Jal lower his wings for you is an honor. But that's the honor of knowledge, because Allah Azza wa Jal lifts you up whenever you know and wherever you know. So the question is, how do we do this? First of all, make it an intention that I do want it, because otherwise our iman could sink and we could fall victim to all the temptations around us, to ignorance, to worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal maybe for many years and having that worship be disqualified because it turns out that it was a bid'ah and we did not bother to understand the difference between sunnah or bid'ah. Or it be the case that I was committing shirk in Allah Azza wa Jal throughout my life. I did not bother to learn the difference between tawheed and shirk. What's the excuse then? You have to learn. So first of all, attend the halaqas, attend the study circles, seek every single opportunity you have physically and online to learn. Invest, because that's an investment for the akhirah before it's an investment in the dunya. If something is free, or even if you have to pay for it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, but then wake up and start saying to yourself, I take courses, I take certificates to improve myself worldly. Why not religiously? So seek those opportunities and attend and be in the houses of Allah Azza wa Jal for those opportunities. Or virtually seek them online. But a word of caution. Not every offering is a wholesome offering. You must know who is teaching you before you learn from them. If you're in doubt, you ask. But you don't go online and listen to every video and to whoever looks like a shaykh. Every small snippet, you absorb it and you say, this is right, just because somebody who looks right is saying it. You must have a filter, and you must be smart enough for that filter to make sense. If that person is an unknown, whatever he is saying is an unknown, until you could verify that he's reliable, only then should you listen to them. But if you open your heart to every single doubt and misunderstanding, whatever comes in may never leave. That's why also for the average Muslim, don't go on watching debates between Muslims or non-Muslims, or between Muslims and other sects. This is not your obligation at this moment, because you're going to hear the other side that will fill your ear with a lot of nonsense. You want to really learn or be at that stage? Learn your Islam first and be firm in understanding, then go do whatever you want. But being without armor into battle is reckless and foolish. So learn your Islam and plan on learning every single day. Please read. Please make this a habit. Enough videos, enough TikTok, enough Instagram. Please read. Plan every single day that you will open your Mus'haf, you will read the translation, the Quran and the translation with it, or the Quran and the commentary. One single page every day, but make it a habit. And next to it, have a book of hadith. Just open it. 2 pages. Hear the words of the Prophet ﷺ every single day. It will transform you. Yes, it's going to need patience and commitment and a lot of dua, but it will transform you. If you're feeding your soul foolishness, you're going to become a shallow, superficial, foolish person. But if you feed them Islam, you will see the difference in a week, in a month, in a year. You will see the difference. So every single day, please have the patience to sit without distraction. And I know that we are suffering today from a short attention span, a lot of impatience. But we have to re-educate ourselves. Away from your phone. Sit and read. And be a model for your children. Teach them, please, to read and make it a long life habit, so that they be committed to Islam and they be constantly learning and growing. So ask Allah Rabbal Alameen, Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, make us of those who seek knowledge. Make us of those who seek knowledge for your sake. Make us of those who seek knowledge for your sake, Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, elevate us with what you know. Make us, Ya Rabbal Alameen, resurrect us among the scholars and the seekers of knowledge, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, Rabbal Alameen, give us the best of intentions in the dunya, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Make us of those who use their time in the best ways, wisely, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Ya Allah, we ask you to cleanse our hearts, fill them with Iman. Ya Allah, cleanse them from attachments to this dunya and reattach us to the akhirah, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, make your words, the Quran, the most beloved words to us, and make the guidance of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam the supreme guidance in our life. We ask Ya Rabbal Alameen to increase us in Iman. Ya Allah, increase us in Iman. Ya Allah, increase us in Iman, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Ya Allah, fill our hearts with yaqeen. Fill our hearts with taqwa, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Ya Allah, forgive us. Ya Allah, forgive our families. Ya Allah, forgive the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Ya Allah, forgive our families and the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Ya Allah, forgive us and our families and the ummah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma atina fi dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhab an-nar. اللهم أصلح لنا نياتنا اللهم أصلح لنا نياتنا اللهم أصلح لنا نياتنا اللهم أصلح لنا نياتنا رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الشرك والبدعة وما يغضبك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم نسألك ممن سلك طريقا يطلب فيه علما وسهل لنا اللهم به طريقا إلى الجنة. اللهم ارفعنا بما علمنا رب العالمين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. وأقم الصلاة.